Okay. Now let us move over to the next lines. That is line number 23 to 31. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in, to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey swam over their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night in the ancient way. Now, in the first lines, that is the first 6 lines of the poem, we got to know how, where the poem, the roadside stand was set up. And the next lines, that is from line 7 to 13, we got to know what all things were set up there in the roadside stand, what things were there, and the attitude of the city dwellers. The next lines, that is line number 14 to 22, the poet himself says that he's not unhappy with the scenery there. That is the artlessness of the scenery, but he wants some money to be there in the hands of these rural people. He also complains about the nature of these politicians, how they do not keep their promises. That is, during the election time, they give many promises, but none of that is fulfilled. And now we are get to know about about these about the different people who actually drain these rural people of their happiness. Now let us see, it's very important stanza. It is in the news that all these pitiful here is merciful, pitiful kin here are also the villagers, are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in. That is, kin here is relatives and mercifully having mercy. Gathered, they are all to be assembled. Okay. To live in villages next to the theatre and the store where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. Now, while greedy good doers, here greedy good doers means greedy persons who pretend to be good. Now, the politicians, they pretend to be good. They say that they'll do everything before the elections and afterwards they just don't keep their promises. Now, next one, beneficent beasts of prey. Beneficent means generous. Beasts of prey, violent, meat eating animals like lions, etc. Now, the poetic device here is greedy good doers. It's an alliteration. Now, beneficent beasts of prey also is an alliteration. Now, why greedy good doers is an alliteration? Now, in the beginning of two consecutive words, we are having the same consonantal sound. That is ga sound, greedy and good. Okay. The next lines, that is next words, group of words, that beneficent beasts of prey. Again, consequently, we are having two uh, consonantal sound, that is ba sound, beneficent and beasts. So, greedy good doers and beneficent beasts. Poetic device here is alliteration. Now, in these words itself, we have one more poetic device, that is oxymoron. Oxymoron means a poetic device or a figure of speech where contradictory terms are there. Contradictory terms. That is not opposites, not like antithesis, not like good and bad opposite, not like that. Okay, but the meaning is opposite. Okay, what is an oxymoron? Oxymoron is a poetic device where contradictory terms are there. For example, greedy, good doers, and beneficent, beasts of prey. We can divide this greedy and good doers. Okay, and beneficent and beasts of prey. Now, good doers aren't at all greedy. Now, people who are beneficent are not beasts of prey. So, here we are having two poetic devices in these words or in these group of words. The first one is alliteration, the next one is oxymoron. While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swam over their lives enforcing benefits. Swam means what? To assemble in large numbers. Now bees, swam, locusts all come in a they are swam, that is the collective noun for it. They swam around. over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. To soothe, calculated means what? Planned before. Okay. Now, swam over their lives. Their lives means whose lives? The villagers' life, enforcing benefits. Enforcing benefits, that is the profits that are calculated, planned before, calculated to soothe them out of. Soothe is to balm, is to make silent, soothe them out of their wits, that is to make fools of them. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day. Destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Now, ancient is old. Let me go into the explanation of these lines and please be attentive here. There is a news that these pitiable persons are to be bought out with all their belongings. These pitiable persons, that is the village dwellers, are to be brought out with all their belongings and they will be made to live in the villages. And it is said that now onwards they need not think of themselves anymore. Greedy people pretending to be good doers will take care of them. Those people who pretend to be kind are actually like flesh eating wild animals. Now, that is what greedy good doers we are having in the that is 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th line. We are having while greedy good doers are the beneficent beast of prey. These people who pretend to be kind are actually like flesh eating wild animals. Such cunning people will swam over their lives to exploit them. They will force them to part with their money. They will mint money, befooling the innocent rural people. They will make them work, but themselves will sleep all the day. They will use their old games to destroy their sleep at night. Now, this old games, the meaning may be that is, they'll give loans to them and then take a high interest. Okay, that is what it may be, what the poet intends to say here. Now, why the poet addresses them as greedy good doers? Let me explain that. The poet addresses them as greedy good doers, apparently the benefactors, but actually beasts of prey who exploits the innocent villagers. Now, why won't these poor people have to think for themselves anymore? Now they are in the grip of selfish and cunning people. They will control their lives and hence they won't have to think for themselves. Explain now greedy good doers. What are greedy good doers? Greedy people pretending to be doing good things. Now, what is the beneficent beast of prey? Beneficent beast of prey are people who are cruel, like the flesh eating wild animals pretending to be generous. Now, how will the innocent rural people be soothed out of their wits? The innocent will be soothed out of this, out of their wits, because the cunning and the greedy people of the city will befool them for their own advantage. Befool them, that is, fool them. Now, who are destroying whose sleep at night and how? That is the greedy good doers and the beneficent beasts of prey are using their old tricks to destroy whose peace? That is the villagers' peace and sleep. Now, they make money using these villagers and they have a very good sleep. But actually, who lose the sleep? That is the villagers lose their sleep. Now let us move on to the next lines, that is line number 33 to 43. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear, hardly with great difficulty. Bear, I cannot suffer. The thought of so much childish longing in vain, childish, immature, longing, strong desire, and in vain is without any use. Whose childish longing in vain? That is the villagers' childish longing is in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, the sadness that lurks as dwells. Now again see the sadness that lurks near the open window there. Now which is the poetic device here? Living things Non-living quality has been given. Listen, sorry, living qualities has been given to the non-living thing. The sadness is a living quality that is dwelling where it is dwelling near the open window there. So, which is the poetic device? The poetic device here is personification that waits all day in almost open prayer. Who waits? That is actually who is waiting there. The villagers are waiting near the window, waiting that these people who are speeding past will stop there and buy some things from their shop. That waits all day in almost open prayer. For the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass. Now, selfish cars. Are the cars selfish? No, but the people who are there in it are selfish because they do not stop there to buy anything from the roadside stand. Now, so which is the poetic device here? The poetic device is transferred epithet. Of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop, but only to plough up grass, in using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound, and another to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? They couldn't, this crossly. They had none. Didn't it seem? Now, hardly is already I told you, hardly is with great difficulty. And bear is to tolerate or to suffer. Childish is immature, longing, a strong desire, and in vain, without any cause. Lurks is dwells or lies hidden, and squeal is cries. Selfish cars, that is, the car selfish car owners inquire to ask to get information, plow up to turn over, then yard is an open space and bound is leading to where to. Okay, now let me go into the explanation. The people who are running the roadside stand are vainly waiting for their prospective customers. It's quite childish to entertain such a longing. They keep their windows open to wait for the likely customers. When no one turns up, they feel sad. They go on waiting throughout the day, praying for the sound of brakes, the sound of opening stopping car. Thousands of selfish car owners pass through the stand. No one inquires what prices a farm gets of his produce. One person stops, but only to use the yard for backing the car and turning around. Now another man also comes and asks where the way to where it is bound. That is where he has to, which side he has to go to reach the destination that he has to. Then still another person who stops there will ask for a gallon of gas which is not sold there. Now all the people who stop in there in the beginning, those who stopped, what did they do? They complained about the scenery. They said that and they complained about the scenery, they complained about the N and the S signs that were not properly kept. And then they also complained now they stopped again, some of them who stopped there, they even did not ask the prices of the farmers produce. Some of them who stopped just was to make a turn, to take a U-turn maybe or turn and go back. Some of them asked stop just to know about the destination, which manner, if they have lost their way. And some of them asked for things that were not sold in there. Now some asked for a gallon of gas. Now the poet gets very angry out here because they could see that this thing wasn't sold there, but in spite of it, they asked if a gallon of gas is sold. Now here in this last line there, they couldn't this crossly, now he is angry there. They had none. Didn't it see? That is, didn't they see? Didn't it see means what here? Didn't they see? Okay, now what is the childish longing? The childish longing is the waiting of these people who have set up the roadside stand for the prospective customers that will never turn up. Okay, why does sadness lurk near the open windows there? Sadness lurks in there because in spite of waiting for a very long time, no one stops near the roadside stand to buy anything. Now, why do the people at the roadside stand wait for the squeal of the brakes? They are happy that at least if they stop there, they'll buy something. Okay, now let me move over to the next lines. That is line number 44 to 51. Now, this passage, now these last three stanzas very, very important. Know in the country money, the country scale of gain. Scale is level. Gain here is progress or profits. The requisite lift of spirit has never been found. Requisite, needed, or desired. Or so the voice of the country. Now, country here is rural side or the villages. Seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. Can't help here means he can't accept. Okay, he can't accept that. He cannot do anything to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. And then next day, as I come back into sane is sanity, and offer to put me gently out of my pain. Now, sane, sanity, to be sensible and balanced. Now, stroke with one blow. Now, he comes to an end of this poem by telling us about actually what he wants with that. Now, Robert Frost too was that is in the beginning I have told you that in the intro I have already told you that he was a farmer and he tried his hands at different things. He wasn't successful, and then he moved over to England. All the story regarding it, isn't it? And he knew the conditions of these villagers. He knew the real conditions of the farmers. So he felt an affinity towards them. And so he says in this that he wants to put all of them at one stroke. He wants to put out their pain. Now let me explain these lines here. Before that, let me tell you what is the figure of speech in these lines. Take the third line of this stanza, that is line number 44 to 51, third line. Also, the voice of the country. The voice of the country, the poetic device here is personification. Okay, and there's nothing else here that I can tell you about, but let me explain now the stanza. The life of the people in the countryside is quite miserable for the want of money. Money which can increase the level of their living is not found here. Due to the lack of money, the spirit of the people always remains depressed. So, the rural people seem to complain of this drawback. The poet will feel a great relief if all the pains of these rural people are removed with one stroke. Now, here onwards, that is what to put this. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. At this point of time, the poet is overwhelmed with emotions and contemplates their pain at one go by changing their lives. But a little later, a logical thought and a poised state of mind tells him to seek the purgation of pain from others for this thoughtless decision. That is to put these people at one stroke. He thinks that how can a person's pain will all vanish at one stroke? That is when he goes to eternal rest. He thinks that that's the best method in order to remove all the problems of these villagers. But the next moment, he says he comes back to saying, and I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. He says that again, a logical thought. Logically, he thinks, then he tells that there is a purgation of pain for others, from others for his thoughtless decision. And what was his thoughtless decision? His thoughtless decision was to put them out of their pain. He says that that's not the solution for all problems. Now, why has the requisite lift of spirit never been found? The requisite lift of spirit has never been found because the rural people remain depressed because of their poverty. Now, what does the voice of the country people seem to say? The voice of the country people seems to complain of the injustice against them. And what is the injustice? There is lack of money in their lives. Now, how will the poet feel a great relief? The poet says that he would feel a great relief in the beginning, okay? Great relief if the rural people are liberated of all pains with one stroke. Then, what will the poet like the next day? The next day, the poet will expect another person coming to him and offering to put him out of his pain. Now he says that at one moment he says, now these lines are very important because last lines here, wherein it can be interpreted in many manners. To put these people at one stroke out of their pain, and then the next day, as I come back into the same, I wonder how I should like to you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. He says that at this point of time, what does he? The poet is overwhelmed with emotions and contemplates their pain at one go by changing their lives. But a little later, logical thought of a poised state of mind tells him to seek purgation of the pain from others for his thoughtless decision. And then now he says that at the beginning he says that he wants to put them at one stroke, that is to give them eternal rest. And then he says that the next day he comes back to his sanity. He wants someone else to come and give him a relief of offering him out of his pain. Otherwise, he would go mad. Okay. Now that is, we have come to the end of this poem. And if you have any doubts regarding it, please, you are free to contact me. Thank you.